Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Munce Report as we catch up on all the latest news from the Munce Racing camp. Joining us is trainer Chris Munce as usual, who's going to give us the lowdown on the weekend's runners. But before we get into the preview, let's recap a couple of great performances over the past week, starting with Lady Bramos. Mate, she was absolutely huge first up in the Archer Park colours at the Sunshine Coast on Sunday.
Yeah, it was really, really good, Adam, to see her win the way she did. I mean, she'd always promised quite a bit, but I thought she'd been lacking quite a bit of confidence in her races. She just didn't know how to get down and hit the line hard. So we gave her probably a bit of a rousing trial, her last jump out before she went to the race, and it seemed to do her confidence a lot of good. So, she hit the line really strong and ran very fast time on a track that was a bit soft too. So plenty of upside. I think she's a nice filly on the improve.
It must be satisfying. Obviously, you've known she's had ability for quite some time, but to see her put it all together and the work that you've put into to get her there to see her do that in such fashion.
Yeah, well, look, she was terribly unlucky in the Magic Millions maiden in January. She drew poorly and she was sort of midfield and wide, and she only got beaten 2.5 lengths and running fifth or sixth, I think it was. So her run in that race was no doubt the run of the race, in my opinion. And then that sort of flattened her then for a next start where she was very plain. So then we spelled her, but then she's come back a different filly this time around, much more settled and mature. And I'm sort of hoping that she's in for a pretty good prep.
Yeah, exciting to see what she can do, stepping up through her grades. The other creditable performance was Boom Sarah in Wednesday's Ramornie, obviously finishing a credible fourth. First up for 6 months and obviously set the pace, and he was in it the whole way. It was just that last little bit, wasn't it, where he, they just swamped him.
Yeah, well, look, he in fairness to him, he had a lot against him. As you said, first up for 6 months, he'd had 12 weeks work, he'd had a jump out in a trial sort of leading into it. But, the Ramornie is a very, very hard race, and it's even more hard to try and lead and win a race like that. But he certainly did us proud. The track was rate affected, which is another negative for him. He certainly doesn't like the wet. So there's no way in the world I could have been disappointed with his performance. I thought it was a tip-top effort. And now the trick is just working out where we go with him next. There's not a lot of options for him up there at the moment. Sydney's always an option, but, there's no use running him down there if the tracks are wet either. So we've got a bit of thinking to do as to where we go with him next. But it was just good to see him back in good order and racing the way he did. He's certainly back, I think, to his best.
Yeah, I was going to ask, obviously you're quite happy with him heading in, so to see him do that, even though he didn't win, and they've run quite quick time, I think it was 1:08.70 for the race, so yeah, that must give you confidence, even though, as you say, that there's not a heap of races around for him, but, that he is back and can scale the heights again.
Yeah, well, that's right. And look, we've just got to take each race as it comes now. We've still got the Magic Millions in January that we could target. We've got all them summer races as well. So, look, it may well be he only has one more run somewhere and then we put him back out and target the sort of summer with him. He'd go to the George Moore or those races that he did last prep, and hopefully we can have a little bit more luck.
Very good, mate. I'll be interested to see what his next assignment is. Heading into this weekend, the feature racing rolls on, and the big one on Saturday at the Sunshine Coast is the Group 3 Winx Guineas, of course formerly the Sunshine Coast Guineas, but now named after the mighty mare herself. You've got 2 horses lining up here in Smart Meteor and Al Jude. Al Jude hasn't raced since the Roses on June 13, but she did have a jump out recently where she was a nice third, actually to Boom Sarah in the same jump out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And her trial was very good the other day. She ran here in the bracelet at Eagle Farm and just doesn't let go on this Eagle Farm track at all. Every run she's put in here has been probably below par. Probably ridden a little bit close the other day also, which takes away her strong finish. But she loves Caloundra, she loves the mile, and she loves the wet. So she's got a lot of things in her favours there on Saturday. And she's going in very, very good order, this mare, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her run a very big race.
Okay, and Smart Meteor is an interesting runner. Obviously, been racing in that top 3-year-old company over the staying trips this prep, and hasn't been far off them. And you've elected to drop him back in trip here from the 2,000 metres.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a recommendation from his rider, Mark Duplessis, the other day. He thought that the horse probably didn't run the 2,000 out, even though he has won over 2,000. He thought that he'd be better suited back to the mile. Hence the reason We've headed this way with him. Obviously, I'm not sure if he's been on the heavy track. It's at the moment it's a heavy 9. I can't recall him being on a track that wet. But look, he's fit. He's race fit. He's got an action that probably should suit a heavy track. And there's no reason why he wouldn't be competitive. He's in good form against this greater horse.
Okay, the other runner on the Sunshine Coast program is Lucky Jackson in a Class 6 over the 1,600 metres. He also hasn't raced since June the 13, but had a jump out Tuesday week ago, and assumed that was to sort of keep him up to the mark fitness-wise ahead of this.
Yeah, well, he's an old marvel, this horse. He's been up for nearly 12 months, this guy, and he just continues to race well. His run the other day coming from last at Eagle Farm was fantastic when Brad Stewart rode him. He only got beaten a couple of lengths, running 5th. He goes to a track he likes, Caloundry. He'll get the heavy track, which he likes as well. So, he's got a few things in his corner that are sort of making us confident going into the race. And as I said, he's just remarkable the way that he stayed up for this period of time.
Yeah, you mentioned the Sunshine Coast. He's had 5 wins. All his 5 wins have been there from 12 starts, and the track and distance 3 starts for 2 wins and a third. So he certainly loves the track and trip.
He does love the track, and it'd be a well-deserved race for him to be able to pick up there on Saturday.
Very good. Over at the Gold Coast on Saturday, you've got 2 runners heading down the M1. Travello drops back to the 900 metres for a Class 3 plate. He's had a bit of a freshen up for this.
He has. He hasn't trialled or jumped out yet, and the weather will depend on whether he runs or not. I mean, I don't think I'd like to go down there if the track's heavy, but certainly if it's a bit soft, he will run down there. Otherwise, we'll just have to trial him on the Tuesday anyway. And look, he's a good fresh horse, and as I said, if I had a trial him on Tuesday, he probably would have trialled up well anyway. So I just thought I might as well go to the races, and so long as the track's not too rain affected, he'll run.
Okay, and the other runner is Outback Gladiator, who's in a maiden over 1,400 metres. Also entered for a race at Gatton on Sunday, a similar race, Colton Gelding's maiden over 1,400 metres. You're leaning particular way, or is that the weather factor as well?
I think the weather will play a determining factor there too, Adam. I mean, his run the other day was good first up. He come from well back and finished off strong to run 3rd. He's a big striding horse. I think he'll get over to a mile. He'll get out to a mile as he gets older. But he's a very nice maiden, this guy, going forward. So I've just got to be a bit careful where I run him and pick my mark there. I'll probably just go wherever the track probably suits him the best, I would suggest. Okay,
and Gatton on Sunday, Patriotic Rose steps up to the 1,400 metres from the 1,100 metres, which I gather was probably a bit too short for her first up.
Yeah, it was, but I still thought she ran home really well. She got back and struck interference and didn't get a lot of luck in running. So from a good draw there on Sunday and Michael Murphy to ride, I think she won't be too far away in the run. And it just depends. Like, she gets around the track quite well. She knows it. So, look, if the track's not too rain affected out there, I'd probably expect her to be competitive in this type of a race on Sunday.
Very good. Well, there you go, mate. A bit of variety across the weekend with runners at 3 different meetings. So good luck to Connections and yourself, and all the best for the feature race runners also.
Good on you, Adam. Thanks, mate.